Hello, once again, my name is Ivas Atwine Kansime. I'm a relationship coach and a family therapist. I'm happy to talk to you once again about an important area related to relationships and marriage and dating. But I would like to say thank you once again for your feedback, for your support, for following our Facebook page and giving us that very helpful feedback. It's important to know that you're getting the support you need for your relationships, for parenting, for marriage, and so we are happy to be with you once again. Today we are talking about an important area on relationships, both marriage and dating. We're talking about the 4 key stages of love and marriage relationships. And when I talk about this, we are talking about dating as well as marriage. The 4 key stages of dating and marriage relationships. I must tell you that relationships or love grows. Your love grows. Your love evolves. The relationship dynamics change. And when they change, it is okay. It's normal. Because I'm speaking from experience, having spoken into so many people's lives and couples' lives, and seeing the kind of confusion we experience, especially when things change, when your relationship is changing. We get confused. We think we are no longer in love. But I'm here to tell you that a typical love, dating, or marriage relationship goes through these key stages, and there are common patterns that you'll identify and probably resonate with, and this should help you to live happy, to be content, and to have a healthy relationship. I also want to warn you that relationships go through a series of changes, of challenges, of trials, sometimes tribulations, but finally they end in a blissful state if we persist. And as a therapist, I'll tell you that it's very, very important to have a long-term picture of our relationship. And if we are not happy today, then we cut it off. But to know that at the end of the day, if we go through these stages, we'll live happy. And those stages are also important for you. So let me just talk about the 4 stages of a relationship. Stage number 1. Stage number 1 is called dream or fantasy. Dream or fantasy. Other people call it attraction and romance. Others call it a merge stage. Why? This is a stage that occurs when we have just started, when we have just met, when we have just gotten to know each other. It's a stage that is characterized by sweeping romance and all-consuming joy in the presence of each other. It's a very important stage in every relationship, whether you're dating or you're married. It is exciting. It's an exciting stage with highest emotional connection. Okay? It is a stage that is characterized by feelings of utmost satisfaction. I've been sharing with people that some of you who recall Adam, when he was handed Eve, do you remember his response? He said, finally, this is bone of my bones, and this is flesh of my flesh. She will be called woman. Oh, I want you to visualize that excitement. That's exactly what we do, and it's normal. I want to tell you that it's normal. When we have just met or we just married, the person seems to fit everything you have always wanted in this person. Now, I'm aware that not every relationship goes through this, because I have spoken to people who have been married 3 months and they are signing out. They have so much conflict, but I'm talking about a typical relationship. And again, I'm also aware of people who fight and abuse each other during the first years or months of marriage or dating. Again, I've addressed that in a different way. But I'm talking about the common pattern of a relationship and the typical relationship stages. Now, this stage, as I've mentioned, you seem to have gotten the person you've always dreamed of having. The stage is also characterized with a lot of grace. We are so gracious. We are not really focused on what is not working, what is negative about a person. We seem to downplay those. We minimize them. And that's what happens. And I must tell you once again that in this stage, emotions tend to submerge the rational part of our brain, and we get what we call a brain glow. That glow makes you ignore any negative thing about a person. I have to warn you, though, that, and I'm going to talk about it a little more, that beware of these emotions, because we need to be rational, we need to be objective when we are dating. I have mentioned in my previous sessions that when we are dating, our love should not be blind. Even when we are married, by the way, our love should not be blind. I've warned against blind love, because if your love is blind, you're probably in for a rude awakening later on when your spouse manifests with weaknesses and things that you may not be able to stand. Okay? In terms of how long this takes, we don't have a specific time, but usually it ranges between a couple of months and 2 years. That's the period of dream stage, and that's the kind of stage. Let me tell you, what are you to do during this relationship? Again, I'll tell you that this advice is for both those who are dating and those who are married. What are you to do? Number one, for those who are married, let me tell you, enjoy this stage to the fullest. Why? Because this is a time when you're going to make emotional deposits in your relationship. Even when you're dating, but of course I'm going to talk about dating. When you're married, please make use, utmost use of this stage. Connect, be with each other, create good memories that you're going to have later on, because later on when challenges set in, when the relationship changes, there's so much to manage. You build on those. You have a deposit to work with. You remember that the time you were together, you really spent there, you talk to each other. We encourage that you speak into each other's lives, assure each other what you appreciate about them, because you're so emotionally connected. It's very important. I also want to mention, what are you to do at this stage? Beware of heightened emotions. I've told you that this is a highly emotional stage of any relationship. Now, if you're dating, beware. Again, I want to tell you, please make sure you're not making decisions out of emotions. I have labored to explain how our brain, we have two main brain zones. We have the emotional part, but then we also have the logical part. The logical part is where decisions are supposed to be made. The emotional part has its own importance. It plays its part, but make sure you're not making key life decisions based on your emotional mind. Oh, you're so excited, you don't want to see anything, so you make a decision to marry, or you get pregnant, or you move in, or whatever decision. I have to warn you once again, please step back to observe the relationship. Make sure you're not blind to the weakness part of your spouse, the areas you need to be aware of, the areas of what we call deal breakers. I have encouraged those who are dating, please have deal breakers. Not every person that comes to you is supposed to marry you. No. Make sure you make a choice. And I'm going to talk about in a different session how to make choices for marriage. I must tell you there are wrong choices for marriage. Because I hear people say, there's no wrong choice. Everyone God has brought them. No. You're supposed to make a choice. And you can make a wrong choice in marriage. You can make a good choice. You can also make a wrong choice. Based on what? On you as a person. What are your values? How does this person fit within your values? Now, if you're so emotional, you're likely to miss that. So you're supposed to step back, check. Does this person, how about this? How about this deal breaker? Am I sure that I'm supposed? Yes, I'm excited. The person seems nice. I speak into so many people's lives. And I recall one time, some years back, when I was speaking to someone, some young lady who was stuck in a relationship. And she told me she loves this person so much. She really loves this person. I asked her what they love about it. I said, you know what, this person has all the wrong things, but I really love them. And I said, why do you love them then? She said, he's so funny, I just laugh. And now that's the emotional thing that I'm warning you against. Please don't just be emotional. Don't make decisions out of emotion. Step back, check the person, be stable, make sure that the logical part of your brain is working, and you're still able to make decisions based on logic, not emotions. Now, for the married, even for the married, this is important. Heightened emotions are important, but make sure they don't blind you to the areas of weakness in your person. Now, why am I saying that? I'm not saying, oh, just be there, emphasize, look, keep your eyes on the negative. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying make sure that you're open, you're reasonable, you're considering the whole of this person, and you are aware of their areas of weakness, so that you accept them. You're not in denial. You're not hoping that, when you're emotional, then all the other things just go away. No. Beware that emotions are there, but then the areas where your spouse needs help, or where you need help to support them, you're honest, you're logical, you are reasonable in terms of how you face this. You're not in denial. Number 3, get candid at this stage. Get candid advice in terms of from people you trust. Get candid advice. Both of us, especially the dating. If you're dating, I get people who say, now that person is trying to spoil our relationship. I want to encourage you to please not to close your ears. Be open to advice, especially from trusted sources. A therapist, your parents. I want to encourage you, some of you are dating, please don't lock your parents out. And I want to tell you that when you are in this emotional stage, you're not seeing much. People outside might see better. Please be open to feedback. Get candid advice that will help you to not miss the truly worrisome red flags that might be there. Okay? So beware of that and make sure that you get advice. For those of us who are married, as I've already told you, that it's also okay to get advice in terms of how you can support them, how you can deal with such behavior, and make sure that you're supporting your spouse well, even when you're madly in love. Number 4, keep an eye on your deal breakers. I've told you, those who are dating, please keep an eye on your deal breakers. Don't compromise your deal breakers because you're emotionally connected or emotionally charged. And then, of course, I encourage you at this stage, please connect with mentors and keep your networks. There is a temptation at this stage for people to think, I'm okay, he's enough for me or she's enough for me, I don't even need other people. I want to tell you that as you graduate to the next stage, you need other people. You really need other people to help you, okay? So that's one of the things you need to pay attention to. Stage number 2 is called drama or reality stage. I think you can get it from the name itself. It's drama reality stage. Why is it reality stage? This is a stage that we are able to realize that we are different. I told you that in the area stage, the dream, we are more driven by emotions rather than reality or logic. But by this stage, we have already realized that we are different. We've already realized that the person we thought was an angel is not necessarily an angel. At this stage, I must warn you, your maturity is tested because it's characterized by so much conflict and fighting over sometimes silly things. But I will tell you that there is nothing small or big in marriage. Everything is big. At this stage, why do we fight? Because we are beginning to make adjustments to live with each other. I have been telling different audiences that up till we get married, we have been living single. We have a single mindset. We are so self-centered. And again, we have to know that as human beings, there are two things that define us. One, selfishness and self-centeredness, but also defiance. So two things, selfishness and defiance. Now, those are natural things. We are born with this. That's why when you read scripture, you see David say, in sin I was born. It's the sin of selfishness. So up till the time we get married, we have been single. But now we are living with someone. Area we thought was, wow, the dream. But now as we continue to grow, it's like the crawling stage. You start falling down, you're trying to stand, you're staggering, it's the same thing. It's a stage where we are trying to adjust to living with each other. We have already realized that the person we married is not necessarily an angel. They have weaknesses. How do we make adjustments to still live with them in peace? We are also manifesting our own weaknesses. We can't stand certain things. Now, it's a time of adjustment because again, as I've said, you have realized that someone, you need to adjust to be able to live with someone in peace. Now, that adjustment is not easy because human nature loves comfort zone. So if we have to make adjustments, we feel inconvenienced. And again, as a therapist, I have spoken into so many people's lives, but also in my own life, I will tell you, I've been married 24 years, so I know what I'm talking about, the kind of adjustments we have to make, the inconvenience, sometimes the confusion, you're not so sure whether you'll survive this. That happens. I want to tell you that it is normal because you're trying to align your spouse to your expectations. At this stage, you're trying to align your spouse to your expectations, you're confused, you're not so sure, You realize that the same qualities you once seemed to appreciate as perfect now have started to irritate you. For instance, if your wife or your wife, you appreciated that she was generous, now it turns into irresponsibility. You think, this is irresponsible giving, If your spouse was reliable and all that, now you start seeing this as rigid because you're living together. You're no longer hanging out in restaurants and coffee shops, but now it is Monday through Sunday. That's where the issue is, Monday through Sunday. So when you start getting to adjust and see the details, because the devil is in the detail, or the life is in the detail, if you wish. Life is in the detail. It's not surfaces. So when we begin to see this, then we start getting confused. And what happens? At this stage, we start trying to manipulate someone to become like us. I have been sharing in different audiences that relational science is such that we get attracted to people who are different from us. And I have run couple sessions trying to do personality tests. I want to tell you that we never marry people who are like us. We are attracted to people who are different from us. But at this stage, the same things that attracted us towards this person are the same things irritating us. So I want to just to make you aware of that fact, that happens, but I'm not saying that's supposed to be, because I'm going to give you advice on how to survive that stage. And for those who are dating, I want to encourage you that's still okay. Because I've got some people come to me and say, I can't believe we are conflicting. In fact, I encourage people, whenever I'm doing premarital counseling, I ask them, have you conflicted? And some of them look at me and say, what do you mean? Conflict? Us? Now, I want to tell you that this stage is normal. If you conflict, it also helps you to define boundaries. You're no longer faking things. It's reality. You're no longer at the other stage, but it's now reality. And I want you to know that this is normal. How it also helps you to know how to manage conflict. Can you emerge out of this conflict situation clean, without violence and all that? This stage is absolutely important. So if you're dating and you're conflicting, it's okay. What matters is how you manage the conflict. Okay? Now, I want to also assure you, some of us who are married or even dating, there is a tendency to wonder if you're still in love. And I want to guarantee you that you're still in love. I told you love grows. I tell you love is about management. It's how we manage issues that sustains our love. So don't worry about love. Worry about how you manage issues. You're still good to go. You're still good and in love. But manage these issues and you'll be amazed at how your relationship will grow stronger. This stage also comes with manipulation. We want, sometimes your spouse becomes a project for you because you can't believe this is the person you got. You remember the dream person that you had, but all of a sudden they are manifesting ugly things. And it's very funny that sometimes even this person becomes your prayer project. You no longer even pray for anything else. You don't pray for food. You don't pray for any. Your spouse just becomes, or your partner becomes your full-time job because you can't believe what's happening. Everything seems like it's crumbling. But I want to assure you that it's okay. Some of the common questions that come into our minds at this stage is, did I really marry the right person? Or am I really dating the right person? Now that's okay, those are questions to ask, but as long as you don't make destructive steps. Now, I'll tell you that at this stage, most people don't survive this stage. Most divorces happen here, most adulteries happen here. It's a stage where people get the worst temptations. Don't give in to temptations. Some of you who are married, I want to give you this message. Please don't start going out to look for alternative relationships. I want to assure you that relationships are a lot of hard work. I want to encourage you, don't make wrong decisions. Don't run to look for emotional things because, the other emotional stage was good. You're likely to complicate your situation even more. Okay? Don't get into extramarital relationships because you have to solve issues, because you only need to make adjustments. And I'm going to give you advice to that effect. Don't give in to deception that you can get a better relationship. I want to guarantee you that if you stayed with that person a little more, not hanging out in restaurants and hotels, you probably would come to this stage as well. So don't confuse yourself. Don't be mature to make such decisions which will complicate your life a lot more. Key advice for this stage. The stage requires high level maturity. And I'm going to talk about maturity. Maturity is about how you view others, how you understand issues, your outlook to life. When a conflict occurs, are you a problem solver or are you a problem finder? Are you a problem complicator? That's maturity. By the way, maturity is about problem solving. It's about how you also view the needs of others. Now, if you're mature, you're going to survive this stage. I have been sharing that most of the problems we are having in marriage and the divorces, I will guarantee you it's because of lack of maturity. Because unfortunately, marriage and relationships, intimate relationships, require maturity. I'm going to be running a separate session on why emotional intelligence and maturity is very important for relationships. When you check, it's, oh, I can't stand this. Oh, I feel like this. That's okay. But have you also considered the needs of other people? So this stage requires high level maturity. How do you manage anger? How do you manage conflict? Are you humble enough? Do you have a sense of humility to emerge out of a conflict? Do you look at things from your own perspective? So invest in upping your maturity, in upping your perspective, how you look at things, rather than managing things from the emotional standpoint and the selfish standpoint. Number 2, need for character adjustment. I've told you that this stage, we realize that we are different. Now, when we are different, it doesn't mean that other people or our partners are twisted or are wrong people. No, they are just different. Always remember, we are different. And we are brought together by our differences. We are attracted to people who are different from us. So it's not wrong to be different. But how can you utilize your differences to enhance your relationship, to reinforce the beauty of your relationship? Now, unfortunately, as I've told you, we are attracted to people because they are different from us, but when we marry them or get into their lives, we make it a full-time job to rework them to be like us so that we can be happy. Now that's a temptation. And I want to give you this challenge. Please check. The next time you complain about your spouse, is it because you're not accommodating the differences? Are you trying to rework them to be like you? They cannot. That's a project you'll never succeed at. So we need to adjust. And even in situations where your partner needs to genuinely adjust, please don't put them on pressure. If they're still struggling to change, please change. Change the way you look at them, change the way you approach them. Make sure you are more of an encourager than a manipulator or a bully. So let's try to do that. That's when you're going to survive this stage. Advice number 3, stop attempting. I think I've already talked about this. Stop attempting to change your spouse or your partner. If you do this, if you're dating and you're manipulating them, you're not likely to get good results. Let me just use one example of a person who was a believer, and she married someone who was not a believer. And so at this stage in their relationship, she insisted, you either accept Christ or I'm leaving. And so the question I was asking her was, supposing, what exactly are you expecting? Like, do you want this person to say, yes, I accept Christ, and then you'll be happy and say, now I'm in this relationship? Does it mean that after that there is no work to be done? Do you also consider that this person is just making it up because you're putting them on pressure? I want to encourage all of us, please don't try to change someone. Just work to support them to get over something. It's going to be so exhausting. And I've told you that if someone doesn't change yet, and you feel like honestly they need to change, just support them, pray for them. It's only God who can work on them. It's only when they get a revelation to change that they will change. But we need to be a support system to them. Be gracious. It's only grace that can draw someone towards a better place, but not to arm twist them, right? And when this is happening, you also need grace to be able to persist and make sure that you're supporting this person. I want to encourage you, don't quit. If you're married, please don't quit. There are moments for those who are dating. I encourage that you realize that this person is actually not the kind of person that is supposed to marry you based on the deal breakers. Please, you can quit and make sure that you don't waste your time on a relationship that is going nowhere because You would rather have a broken relationship than a marriage. But if you're married, I will encourage you, please don't quit. Don't quit. Don't quit and run. Where are you going? Because any person you get, you're going to be starting all over again. And you never know whether you'll survive this second stage of marriage. I also want to encourage people, another piece of advice is please avoid violence. Because when we get into this conflicting stage, where you're trying to adjust and things are not working, there is a temptation. Much of the violence actually happens in this stage, okay? Because there's disagreement and denial and all. And when I talk about violence, I've already run a session on that. It's not only physical, but even verbal, the emotional violence, what we call beating below the belt, name calling, telling someone they are not man enough or woman enough. Please avoid that. And I also want to encourage you, please deal with issues as they come up. If you're disagreeing on something in this stage, please deal with issues, solve them, listen. What we call attentive listening. Listen to where someone is coming from, try to understand them. I must remind you that up till this time you have been single, but when you're managing relationships where you're two, then it's no longer about you. It's also about another person you're with. So don't say, as for me. No. Deal with issues, be considerate, listen to each other, and you pull out of this. I want to tell you that this stage is not a terminal illness. It will pass. So don't feel frustrated and you think, honestly, it has gone. My last advice for you is please seek professional therapy. Most marriages are breaking when help is just a button away. We are here to support you. Professional therapy or marriage counseling is not for the weak. It's for you and me. What therapy helps you to do is to explore options. Remember, when you're in the midst of confusion, you don't see any other options. You're seeing only divorce. I'm stepping out. I'm signing out of this. But if you seek help, you'll be amazed at how much you're able to understand other options, understand your own behavior, gain skills for decision making. And so don't just quit, but seek help. You'll be surprised that your relationship can be stronger and emerge better out of this. In the next session, I'm going to be talking about the remaining 2 stages of dating or a love and marriage relationship. And so thank you so much. Please stick with us to complete this important topic.